You've probably heard them a million times, right? Fables, those simple little stories with talking animals and morals tacked on at the end. But what if I told you they're not just for kids? What if they're actually one of the most sophisticated pieces of technology ever invented? Ancient simulators for our moral compass. Let's get into it.
I mean, think about it. How do you actually teach something complex like honesty or humility or why greed is a bad idea in a way that genuinely sticks with someone forever? It's a huge challenge, right? Well, for centuries, the answer has been the good old-fashioned fable.
So here's the secret sauce. Fables take characters, often animals, and they give them these really common, really human flaws. The whole point isn't to lecture you, it's to show you. It's a crystal clear demonstration of cause and effect in action.
And this is the core idea right here. Fables are basically moral simulators. They let us test run a bad decision in a safe environment. We get to experience the fallouts, we see the consequences play out, but we don't have to deal with the real-world danger. It's like a flight simulator, but for making good choices.
Okay, so how do these simulators actually work? Well, they're built on this incredibly simple but totally unbreakable two-part formula. It's all about connecting one thing to another. Here it is. On one side, you have a relatable flaw. We're not talking about some mustache-twirling villainy, right? We're talking about everyday weaknesses we all recognize. Laziness, greed, arrogance. And on the other side, that flaw leads directly to an immediate and unforgettable consequence. This simple pairing creates a link in our brain that is just incredibly hard to break.
All right, let's put this formula to the test with a classic. You probably know this one as The Boy Who Cried Wolf, but we're going to look at a version from our source material called Nana Puli, which means The Boy Who Cried Tiger. So meet our main character, a young shepherd boy named Runga. He's known for his alari chestalu, his mischievous pranks. Now, his flaw isn't that he's a bad person. It's just that he gets a real kick out of fooling people for his own amusement. You know, he's a bored kid, and this is how he makes his day interesting.
So to spice things up, he suddenly yells, "Nana Puli! Nana Puli! Tiger! Tiger!" The villagers and his dad hear him. They drop everything they're doing, grab sticks, and come running to save him. And when they get there, there's no tiger. The boy just laughs his head off. To him, this is peak comedy. And he doesn't just do it once. He does it twice. So here comes the first consequence. And it's a social one. The villagers are furious. They feel played, they feel foolish, and they decide that's it. We're not falling for this again. The bond of trust, completely gone.
But this is where the story pivots. The simulation has shown us the social cost, but now the fable asks a much bigger question. What happens when the game stops being a game? What happens when the lie becomes real? And then it happens. A real tiger shows up. The boy is terrified, screaming for his life, but this time it's for real. Of course, the villagers just hear him and think, oh, there he goes again. They ignore him. Nobody comes. In this telling, he manages to scramble up a tree to save himself, but the tiger gets one of his sheep. His little prank now has a very real, very tangible cost. And this is the moral. It lands like a ton of bricks. It's not some vague advice. It's presented like a law of nature that we've just seen proven. That link between the flaw, lying for fun, and the consequence, being all alone when you're in real trouble, is forged in your mind forever.
Now, this whole flaw and consequence formula isn't a one-hit wonder. It's a pattern, a blueprint that you can see in thousands of fables, each one targeting a different human weakness.
And you see this structure everywhere. Take the lazy donkey, who tries to trick his owner but ends up with an even heavier load. Or look at the greedy dog, who wants the meat he sees in his reflection and ends up losing the real meat he already had. Or the arrogant ram, so proud of his horns, who ends up breaking them. You see it? In every single case, the consequence is this perfect, almost poetic reflection of the original flaw. The punishment fits the crime perfectly.
And often, this entire complex lesson gets boiled down into one powerful, easy-to-remember phrase. This one, from that story of the greedy dog, basically means greed leads to sorrow. It's so simple, but after you've seen the story play out, that little phrase carries so much weight.
So you have to ask, why have these incredibly simple stories survived for literally thousands of years? Why are they passed down from generation to generation all over the world?
Because when it comes down to it, fables are more than just stories. They're incredibly effective cognitive tools. They skip the boring lectures and instead forge this direct, emotional, and unforgettable link between a choice and what happens next. By simulating the consequences of our own flaws, they teach us how to be better humans. They really are the original moral flight simulators.
And that kind of leaves us with one final big question. If these ancient stories were moral simulators for their time, what are the fables of today? What are the stories we see in movies, on social media, or in the news that are quietly shaping our modern moral compass? That's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.